Today we're taking a look at the Lenovo Slim 9i, a super powerful yet really thin and light device with one of the nicest displays I've seen on a 14-inch laptop. So this laptop fits right into the Lenovo 9i family, right alongside the Yoga 9i, but this one comes in a thinner, lighter chassis, an all-aluminum construction that looks beautiful and also has a super nice 14-inch OLED 4K display. But we'll get into all of the details in a little bit. Let's first start with an unboxing. So let's unbox the Slim 9i. And as you can see, somewhat Apple-esque packaging, the white outer box. It slides off very, very nicely, but definitely Lenovo styling. So over on the left, we have a little compartment for our power cord, at least from the wall to the power brick. And then we have the piece de resistance, the Slim 9i. And as you can see, the nice white glass top with that embossed kind of Lenovo logo. Very, very nice. And on the bottom side, an all aluminum chassis, polished on the outside and more of a brushed finish on the bottom. You can see the perforations there for the cooling of our i7 1280p, which we'll talk about in a second. But overall, a very, very nice looking laptop. Underneath the laptop, then we have a couple more compartments. And again, all of this packaging is cardboard, so everything is recyclable, nice and environmentally friendly. Definitely like to see that. So under here, you have two extra boxes. The bigger box, which we'll open in a second, has a couple of paperwork items, warranties, things like that, along with a Thunderbolt or USB-C dongle that gives us HDMI and VGA. Definitely some ports that you'll run into in more of an office setting and gives you all of the connection that you need in order to share your display. And then in the smaller box, we have our power brick. It's a 65-watt USB-C brick, nice and small and compact for easy carrying around. And you're going to need it, although Lenovo advertises around 8 to 9 hours of battery life on this device. The i7 1280p, even with its efficiency cores, pulls a decent amount of power. And I was seeing around 3 to 4, maybe 5 hours of usage. The Slim 9i is one of the nicest laptops I have gotten my hands on in a little while now, purely in terms of design. The all-aluminum bottom chassis construction is super sturdy, like zero deck flex whatsoever in this thing. It's a solid construction, and like it's just really, really nice. You have this polished aluminum bezel around the sides of the device and kind of this like brushed, more satin finish on the keyboard and kind of like the top part of the computer. But overall, this thing just fits the bill. It's super luxurious, especially with this back glass panel on the actual display side of the laptop with your little embossed like Lenovo Chrome icon. Overall, it just looks the part of a super sophisticated laptop. So let's jump into more of the details around the form and function of this laptop. So again, in terms of the design, you have this super crisp glass top. You have the brushed aluminum along the bezels and along the edges of the device. It just looks really, really nice from a design perspective. And when we get this thing open, we're treated with a nice user guide for at least some of the core functionality that Lenovo provides you with the keyboard and some shortcuts and some things like that. So one of the nice things with this device is it has Windows Hello facial recognition built in. You have some shortcuts with FNQ, changing your power and performance settings, and some other items that are all there for you to learn and read about when you first open the device. And overall, I love the trackpad on the Slim 9i. It's nice and big, very Apple-esque, and definitely nice and big compared to some other Lenovo devices. And from a keyboard perspective, it's an awesome typing experience, a very nice layout, no complaints there. Port selection, 2 Thunderbolt 4 and a microphone headphone jack on the left, and then we have another Thunderbolt 4 over on the right with a physical camera cutoff. So overall, the Slim 9i is beautifully packaged in this chassis, although it could use a few more ports, but it's not just the keyboard, the trackpad, and the port selection that makes a laptop great. So let's jump into some of the other aspects of this laptop that really set it apart. So first we'll take a listen to the Bowers & Wilkins speakers. And then I'll of course give you a full rundown on the camera and microphone setup.
Cut myself off from the rest of the room. I know that God can heal it all if you're patient and soon. It can all be worth it, all the searching. Pain is never really permanent, but damn it hurts, man.
So as you guys can tell, the built-in 1080p webcam does a really nice job of auto exposure and autofocus, always keeping me in the frame throughout kind of any movement on screen. I have noticed that there are some kind of troubles when it comes to auto white balance. Sometimes it's a warmer tone like it is right now. Other times it's cooler, and it kind of can change during the same scene. But overall, it's a very nice webcam, and hopefully the microphone array does it justice. Now, what really sets the Slim 9i apart from a lot of its 14-inch competition is its display. Coming in with a 4K OLED capable of 100% DCI-P3 color gamut, and also coming with a display HDR500 certification, which really makes this thing an all kinds of use case device. You can photo edit, video edit, do a lot of creative work on this display and really ensure that you're getting the maximum amount of your colors and just overall the experience of this laptop. And it's also great for content consumption. HDR movies, HDR videos will look fantastic on the Slim 9i. And one thing I haven't mentioned is that it's a touchscreen, which makes everything a little bit more kind of unique and a little bit better. It just adds a little bit of extra functionality that you might not get with another device. So overall, the colors of this display are gorgeous. The OLED blacks look amazing, and the crispness and contrast of these colors just look fantastic, as you can see in this little demo video from Intel. And then when it comes to HDR, you can definitely see over on the right that HDR is fully supported on this device, and you can definitely get the brights and the darks in this video. But of course, the biggest thing with a design like the Slim 9i being in this super thin and light chassis, minimal airflow through the bottom of the case, is how does this thing perform? So packed inside of this laptop is an i7 1280p, which is a 14-core, 20-thread CPU from Intel, its latest generation that really takes advantage of its performance and efficiency cores. So this thing is super powerful from a pure hardware perspective. You also have 32 gigs of 5200 megahertz DDR5 memory inside of this particular model, along with a 1 terabyte NVMe PCIe Gen 4 SSD capable of some crazy speeds. Also tagged into this thing is Wi-Fi 6E. So you're connecting at the highest speeds, downloading to one of the fastest drives you can get right now from Samsung actually in this device. And then you're able to perform at super high levels with that i7 1280p and those 32 gigs of RAM. But does Lenovo allow the Slim 9i to take full use of all of that hardware? So we tested out the CPU performance with a Cinebench R23 run, and I was thoroughly surprised by this score. So we scored a 12,000 or a 13,277, which is pretty high for a 1280p, but overall there was some fluctuation in that performance depending on the temperatures and depending on how the clocks were looking on our P and E cores. But as you can see, there are also performance settings. So going through this thermal testing with FurMark and Cinebench to fully load the iGPU and the CPU, you have this more fan-friendly setting that's going to tune the fans back, which is also going to drop the clocks, and you perform a little bit worse. Then you also have a energy savings mode, which really drops the clocks back. You can see FurMark start to chug over in the right-hand corner. So that's really going to reduce our performance scores. And then as we go back to our performance mode, we get around 1.7, 1.8 gigahertz on the P cores, boosting up to 4. But overall, we're definitely throttling back that CPU in order to keep temps down. So we can definitely see that Lenovo is definitely kind of throttling back on the CPU and GPU performance of this device in order to keep sound at a minimal in terms of fan noise while also keeping temperatures low. We saw that the device kind of peaked at around 70 degrees C. I mean, it went up to around 90, throttled back down, kept the frequencies pretty low on this i7 1280p. But overall, I mean, this thing is still going to perform really well. A 13,000 score in Cinebench R23 is no laughing matter, especially in a device this thin and this light. So overall, I mean, I am super impressed with the Slim 9i, but how does it compare to the competition? And where I really see this thing stacking up is against something like the M2 MacBook Air. Very similar in port selection, very, very similar in terms of display quality and graphics quality. I mean, overall, this thing really matches up very, very well to that device. But how does it actually look in terms of price and performance? Let's jump into the details. So of course, in comparing these two devices, we're looking at M2 versus the 1280p. CPU-wise, the Lenovo is going to perform better with that 1280p. GPU-wise, maybe a little bit worse. 32 gigs of memory over on the Lenovo side versus 24 gigs on the MacBook Air side. Always going to help out a little bit. Same amount of storage, but where the change really comes into play is with that OLED 4K display versus the 2K display on the MacBook Air. But overall, very competitive devices. Overall, there are very few things to complain about when it comes to the Slim 9i. Of course, there could be a better speaker setup. We could have improved port selection. They could have throttled the CPU a little bit less and allowed the i7 1280p to really perform to its maximum capabilities. But overall, I would rather opt for less fan noise in a cooler laptop overall than getting, a little bit extra performance out of this device. So I would definitely recommend the Slim 9i to anybody really looking for a thin and light yet super powerful device that's going to allow you to take full advantage of the hardware inside and do your work to the fullest of your capabilities. I mean, if you're a video editor, a photo editor, or a creative person using Photoshop, Illustrator, any of those real kind of creative applications, this device with this display and everything as a package is definitely going to suit your needs and still be really nice and portable. A thin and light 14-inch laptop with this type of power and this display is hard to find. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, get subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.